Your gut is more than just a tube that breaks down food. It's your second brain, home to over 100 trillion microbes that affect your mood, immunity, energy, sleep, and even how much joy you feel each day. So in this video, we're not just listing healthy foods. We're going on a journey to understand your gut as a living, breathing ecosystem. I'll walk you through 7 everyday foods you might already have in your kitchen and show you how to turn them into medicine. We'll break down myths, explore surprising scientific truths, share real stories, and maybe, just maybe, you'll walk away with a new way of listening to your body. By the end of this video, you'll discover why common foods like bananas and yogurt can literally rewire your gut-brain connection, what most people get wrong about probiotics, and how to use them without wasting money, the healing connection between fiber, fat, and the microbes deep inside you. But before we dive into the list, I want to start with something simple. Something yellow, sweet, and easy to find. Let's talk about bananas, and why this humble fruit might be your gut's favorite food. 1. Bananas. Nature's most underrated gut healer. You know those mornings when your stomach feels unsettled? Not exactly painful, but just off. Maybe you skip breakfast, or maybe you grab something light, like a banana. It feels safe, right? That's exactly what my mom used to do. Anytime I was sick as a kid, fever, nausea, or even just feeling blah, she'd peel a ripe banana and hand it to me with a warm smile. I never questioned it. I just ate it. Years later, when I began learning about gut health, I finally understood why that simple gesture mattered so much. Bananas are more than a snack. They're prebiotic powerhouses. Especially when slightly green, bananas are rich in resistant starch, a unique kind of fiber that doesn't get digested in your small intestine. Instead, it travels all the way to your colon, where it feeds the good bacteria, your gut's microscopic warriors. And ripe bananas? They're gentler, full of pectin, another type of fiber that soothes your gut lining and supports regular bowel movements. That's why bananas are often recommended during digestive distress. They're like emotional support food for your microbiome. Most people think bananas are just sugar. Some even avoid them on diets. But in the right form and in the right context, bananas do much more than satisfy a sweet tooth. In fact, research shows that bananas can support serotonin production in the gut, which affects your mood, increase short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which reduce inflammation, and improve gut transit time, helping things move along smoothly. A client of mine, Sarah, struggled with IBS for years. She tried all kinds of elimination diets, no gluten, no dairy, no fun. When we simplified her breakfast to just a half-ripe banana, some chia seeds, and warm herbal tea for 2 weeks, her bloating reduced, her sleep improved, and for the first time in years, her mornings felt calm. Sometimes healing doesn't come from exotic superfoods. It comes from rethinking the simple, everyday things and learning how to listen when your body says thank you. Now, bananas might help feed your gut bacteria. But what if you could go one step further and introduce new, living allies into your system? Let's talk about yogurt, but not the sweet, flashy kind in colorful cups. Let's talk about real yogurt and why it's time to rethink everything you thought you knew about probiotics. 2. Yogurt versus kefir. What most people get wrong about probiotics. A while back, I visited a friend in Northern California. She was proudly showing me her fridge full of healthy options: kale, almond milk, chia seeds, and rows of colorful yogurt cups. Probiotics, right? She smiled. I eat one every morning. Gut health? Check. But when I looked closer, most of those yogurts had more sugar than a can of soda, and not a single mention of live active cultures. I didn't say anything then. But in my heart, I knew this was one of the biggest misconceptions about probiotics. Let's clear it up. Yogurt can be a fantastic source of probiotics, but only when it's made the traditional way. What matters most is not just the word yogurt on the label, it's what's living inside. Real probiotic yogurt contains strains like Lactobacillus acidophilus or Bifidobacterium bifidum, live bacteria that survive the journey to your gut and help rebalance its ecosystem. But most commercial yogurts are pasteurized after fermentation, killing off the very bacteria your gut needs. And even if some survive, high sugar content can feed the bad bacteria instead. That's where kefir comes in. Unlike most yogurts, kefir is fermented with both bacteria and yeast, giving it a much broader spectrum of microbes, sometimes 30 to 50 strains in one serving. It's thinner, tangier, and often overlooked. But make no mistake, kefir is like a multivitamin for your microbiome. Tom, a 58-year-old teacher I once coached, had been on antibiotics for 2 months after a surgery. He felt exhausted, bloated, and couldn't shake the feeling of brain fog. He was drinking sweet yogurt daily, thinking it would help. We switched him to unsweetened kefir, just half a cup a day before bedtime. Within 2 weeks, he reported better sleep, more energy, and, in his words, a lighter brain. Just because it says probiotic on the package doesn't mean your gut agrees. Sometimes healing means reading between the lines. It means choosing food that may not taste like dessert, but feels like medicine once it's inside you. So now you know. It's not just about adding bacteria, but about feeding and balancing them. And that brings us to something unexpected. Something that's probably already in your fruit bowl. It's sweet, crunchy, and once a day might truly keep the doctor away. Let's talk about apples and the surprising science hiding in every crisp bite. 3. Apples, the secret prebiotic in your fruit bowl. When I was little, we had an apple tree in the backyard. Every fall, the branches would sag under the weight of crisp red fruit. My dad, a quiet man who rarely talked about health, would pick one, wipe it on his shirt, and say with a grin, "1 apple a day keeps the doctor away." Back then, I thought he was just quoting something from a cereal box. But decades later, I've come to realize he was right. In more ways than I could have imagined. Most people think of apples as just a low-calorie snack, but scientifically, they're one of the most powerful prebiotic foods you can eat. Here's why. Apples contain pectin, a type of soluble fiber that doesn't get digested by your stomach. Instead, it travels deep into your colon, where it becomes fuel for beneficial bacteria. As those bacteria feast, they produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which reduce inflammation in the gut, strengthen the gut lining, and even influence your brain chemistry. Yes, that crisp bite of apple may be doing more for your mood than your taste buds. But here's the catch. Not all apple products are equal. Fresh apples with the peel? Prebiotic gold. Apple juice or apple-flavored snacks? Stripped of fiber, loaded with sugar. In fact, many processed apple products feed the bad bacteria instead, the exact opposite of what your gut needs. I once worked with a client, Mary, who loved apples, but only drank apple juice, believing it was a clean fruit option. She struggled with bloating and sluggish digestion for years. When we made a simple switch, 1 whole apple a day eaten with the peel, she was amazed. Within a week, her bathroom habits normalized, and her energy picked up by mid-morning instead of crashing. It wasn't magic. It was fiber, working quietly from the inside out. Your gut doesn't need fancy. It needs consistency. And sometimes, the most powerful changes start with a habit as simple as biting into a real whole apple. So now we've talked about bananas to feed your good bacteria, yogurt and kefir to restore it, and apples to strengthen it. But what if there were foods that could do all three at once? Foods that are alive, bubbling with good microbes, and rooted in centuries of tradition. It's time to open the fridge and take a closer look at the world of fermented foods. 4. Fermented foods, your gut's forgotten allies. A few summers ago, I visited a friend's grandmother in a quiet Korean village. At dinner, she brought out a small plate of kimchi, bright red, pungent, homemade. I hesitated at first. It was spicy, sour, and bubbling slightly at the edges. She laughed softly and said, "This has more life in it than your whole refrigerator." I didn't understand what she meant, not yet. But one bite in, I felt something shift. Not just in my taste buds, but in how I thought about food. Fermented foods aren't just side dishes. They're living medicine, rich in probiotics, enzymes, and organic acids that help balance the delicate ecosystem inside your gut. When vegetables, milk, or soy are fermented by bacteria and yeast, they produce a vast community of beneficial microbes. Unlike commercial supplements that might contain 1 to 2 strains, natural ferments can house dozens, each playing a unique role in supporting immunity, reducing inflammation, enhancing nutrient absorption, and even regulating mood via the gut-brain axis. Let's break it down. Kimchi is full of Lactobacillus plantarum, known for its anti-inflammatory benefits. Sauerkraut provides enzymes that aid digestion, especially with heavy meals. Miso contains Aspergillus oryzae, a fermentation mold that boosts gut lining health. And guess what? These aren't new health trends. They're ancient traditions, passed down through generations before refrigeration even existed. Lisa, a client of mine with chronic constipation and low immunity, once asked, "Do I really have to take those expensive probiotic pills forever?" Instead, we started small. A tablespoon of sauerkraut with lunch. Then miso soup at dinner twice a week. Within a month, her digestion improved. But more than that, her skin cleared, and she got through winter without a single cold. The change didn't come in a pill. It came in living food. Sometimes what your gut needs isn't more new, it's more alive. Fermented foods remind us that health doesn't always come in glossy packaging. It can come from a humble jar, quietly bubbling in the fridge, full of life, full of history, full of healing. But as powerful as these living foods are, they need something else to work well. They need a partner, a fuel source, something that keeps those good bacteria fed, active, and growing. And that partner? It's humble, hearty, and often misunderstood. Beans and lentils. 5. Beans and lentils. The double-edged fiber sword. I remember a dinner party not too long ago. Candles lit, music playing, conversation flowing. A friend had brought this gorgeous lentil stew, rich with spices and herbs. Everyone loved it. Until about an hour later, when the room got a little too quiet. Then came the laughter and the knowing looks. Because let's be honest, beans have a reputation. But here's the thing most people don't realize. That gassy reaction? It's not your body rejecting beans. It's your gut bacteria celebrating a feast. Beans and lentils are some of the richest sources of prebiotic fiber in the world. They contain resistant starch, which feeds good bacteria in the large intestine, soluble fiber, which slows digestion and balances blood sugar, and polyphenols, plant compounds with powerful anti-inflammatory effects. In short, they're a buffet for your gut. But, like any powerful tool, they must be used wisely. If your gut is weak or unbalanced, introducing too much fiber too fast, especially from beans, can lead to bloating, cramping, and that all too familiar discomfort. This is why beans are called a double-edged sword. Used right, they nourish. Used wrong, they overwhelm. Jacob, a client of mine in his early feeds, was trying to eat healthier. He jumped into a high-fiber plant-based diet overnight, lentils, black beans, hummus every day. Within a week, he was miserable, gassy, sluggish, and ready to quit. Instead, we reset. We started with soaked, slow-cooked lentils, just a quarter cup at a time, paired with fennel tea and warm spices like cumin. After a few weeks, not only did the bloating stop, but his cravings went down, and his energy stabilized throughout the day. He called it peaceful digestion. Healing isn't about going faster, it's about going smarter. Beans and lentils are a treasure, but like any treasure, you need the right key. Soak them, cook them well, start slow, and they'll repay you with stronger digestion, steadier blood sugar, and a flourishing gut ecosystem. And now, let's take everything we've built, the fiber, the ferments, the friendly bacteria, and ask, what's next? What food helps repair the gut lining itself, like a balm to everything going on inside? You might be surprised. It's green, it's leafy, and it's growing in your backyard. Leafy greens. 6. Leafy greens. Why gut health starts in the garden. When I was younger, I never understood why my grandmother spent so much time in her little garden. She'd kneel down gently beside the spinach and mustard greens, humming songs I didn't recognize, brushing dirt off the leaves like they were old friends. To me, they were just vegetables. But to her, they were medicine. And as I've grown older and wiser, I hope, I've come to realize She was absolutely right. Leafy greens like spinach, kale, arugula, collards, and Swiss chard do more than just add color to your plate. They're one of the most powerful gut-healing foods on the planet. Here's why. They're loaded with prebiotic fiber, especially types that help nourish diverse bacterial strains. They contain polyphenols, plant compounds that reduce inflammation and protect gut lining integrity. And they're packed with magnesium, a mineral essential for muscle movement in the gut. Yes, even the muscles that help move things along. But there's more. Researchers have discovered a unique sugar in greens called sulfoquinovose. It's a mouthful, I know. That selectively feeds beneficial bacteria, helping them crowd out harmful species. So while greens might seem humble, they're quietly reshaping your gut microbiome every day. Emily, a 35-year-old mother of 2, came to me feeling constantly fatigued, bloated, and mentally foggy. Her meals were clean, high protein, low carb, but virtually no vegetables. She had grown afraid of greens, thinking they'd cause gas or be hard to digest. So we started small, a handful of steamed spinach in her morning omelet, then a kale salad twice a week with olive oil and lemon juice. After a month, not only had her bloating disappeared, she said her brain felt brighter. And that, to me, is the gut-brain connection at work. Sometimes the most profound healing begins not in a pharmacy, but in a garden. And the green things we used to push off our plates, they may hold the key to calming inflammation, rebuilding our gut wall, and giving our bodies the deep nourishment we've been quietly craving. So far, we've talked about feeding the gut, replenishing it, and soothing it. But there's one more thing your gut needs to truly thrive: repair. Something that seals the gut lining, supports vitamin absorption, and keeps the entire system in harmony. And for that, we turn to a fruit both creamy and powerful: the avocado. 7. Avocados. Fat, fiber, and the gut repair team. I still remember the first time I sliced open a ripe avocado. It was at a tiny cafe tucked away in Mexico City. I'd ordered something simple, eggs and toast, but when the plate arrived, there it was. A generous scoop of green, creamy avocado, sprinkled with sea salt and lime. It looked ordinary, but when I took a bite, it felt like comfort. Rich, grounding, nourishing in a way that didn't just fill my stomach. It settled something deeper. Years later, when I began diving into the science of gut health, I understood why that moment felt so healing. Avocados are gut repair food, not just because they're trendy or photogenic on toast, but because they contain a rare combination of what the gut truly needs to heal and protect itself. Here's what makes them so special. They're packed with soluble fiber, which feeds beneficial bacteria and supports healthy bowel movements. They're rich in monounsaturated fats, which help reduce inflammation and support the rebuilding of the gut lining. They enhance absorption of fat-soluble vitamins, like A, D, E, and K, which are crucial for immune health and cellular repair. And unlike many health foods, avocados are gentle. No harsh acids, no overload of sugar, no extreme swings. Just calm, steady nourishment, the way nature intended. David, a software engineer in his 50s, came to me with a classic modern problem: high stress, poor sleep, irregular digestion. He was skipping breakfast and relying on black coffee until noon. We didn't do anything drastic. No detoxes, no elimination diets. Instead, we added half an avocado to his morning, mashed on whole grain toast, or sliced into a breakfast bowl. Within 2 weeks, his hunger stabilized, his cravings dropped, and most importantly, his digestion became regular for the first time in years. "It's like my gut finally stopped yelling," he said. Sometimes, the body doesn't need more noise. It needs quiet, nourishing support. In a world that often tells us to fear fat, avocados remind us that the right fats, paired with fiber, can be deeply healing. They don't just feed you, they rebuild you from the inside out. So here we are, 7 simple everyday foods. No magic pills, no trendy fads, just real nourishment. Rooted in nature, backed by science, and supported by stories of healing. But before we end, let's take a moment to tie it all together and talk about how you can gently start bringing these foods into your life, one day, one meal at a time. We've just journeyed through 7 simple, yet powerful foods. Bananas, to nourish your good bacteria through gentle beginnings. Yogurt and kefir, to rebuild your gut with living, vibrant cultures. Apples, to feed your microbiome from skin to core. Fermented foods, to remind us that life can come from what's old and bubbling. Beans and lentils, to teach us that sometimes we need to slow down, listen, and adjust. Leafy greens, to feel nature whispering through each leaf. And avocados, to remind us that true healing comes from gentleness, not control. I don't know where you are in your health journey. Maybe you're wrestling with 1,000 unsolved mysteries in your body. Or maybe you simply want to feel better, lighter, more real. Wherever you are, remember this. Your body doesn't ask for perfection. It simply asks that you start listening. You don't have to change everything overnight. Just pick one thing you heard today and begin there. An apple in the morning, a spoonful of kimchi with dinner, half an avocado at lunch. Because in the end, gut health isn't just about digestion. It's about rebuilding the connection between you and yourself. It's about pausing, breathing deeper, and choosing something that nourishes you from within. If you found this video helpful, don't hesitate to share it with someone you love. And if you'd like to continue this journey with me, hit like, leave a comment, or subscribe. So each week we can explore more of the subtle, beautiful ways your body is speaking to you. Thank you for listening, not just to me, but to your own body. See you in the next video. And don't forget, healing doesn't begin with noise. It begins with small, quiet choices every single day.